Hey, how's everybody doing this evening? Oh man, so here we are still talking about the public judgment after Judge Judy, and we are on January the 10th, 2026. What public judgment does to identity? That's the subject matter that we're actually on today. And let me clear the screen for you. And so, first, I wanted to start off by just basically just saying that. We know for a fact, okay, that what public judgment does to identity. And let me see. Let's see. Okay, so there's a difference between being judged privately and being judged publicly, right? Everybody knows that, when you judge privately, that's something that nobody gets to know anything about. But when you're judged privately, uh, that's like, I mean, publicly, that's kind of crazy because everybody's all eyes is on you. And that's what makes it a lot more like, serious and stuff. Private judgments hurts your feelings. Public judgment rewires your identity. And most people don't realize that until it already happened, that they are being judged um, publicly. Okay. So these are some images that basically reflect how you're supposed to respond when you are judged publicly, and um, how you start responding to the interpretations of yourself. Because what actually happens is a lot of times when you are judged publicly, there's this like narrative of what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to act, and that televised portion is that what people see about you. People are always like looking to, how you look at somebody on TV and then you see them and they play a particular part in the movie, and then when you see him in person, you be like, I can't stand that person, or I don't like that person. So we kind of fixate ourselves on the image that the person portrayed, but in reality, the person in real life they is something totally different. Well, that's kind of like what reality television is about as well. A lot of times, people they try to portray, or they portray certain roles or whatever, and a lot of times those roles are not actually who the person really is. And so, this episode isn't about courtrooms or TV. It's about what happens inside you when the world thinks it knows who you are. And a lot of times, we are faced with a lot of difficult scrutinization and stuff based on the fact of what people perceive us to be, and it's not really who we are. And that's kind of what Judge Judy's show kind of did to me. I was perceived a certain way. I was perceived as the guy that had the suspended license, even though my license was just expired. I was perceived as the character, the guy who was married but was gay. I was just perceived in all kinds of different ways and stuff. And some of it was hilarious in the way that I was perceived, but I can say that during my lifetime, years after, there were some ramifications behind choosing to go on that type of platform and decide that that's what I wanted to do. But I do take all credibility for the fact that I decided to go on a show, because the gentleman, I wasn't going to pay him, you know, for the incident itself, because I felt like he was wrong, and he brought it to my attention that he had went and he had, I don't know if he was an actor or what his situation is, but he brought it to my attention that he went and he wanted to go on Judge Judy. So of course I was like, oh, okay, well, if Judge Judy is going to pay the court case, then I'll go on a television show with you. So that's kind of really what summed it up. But Identity is shaped in relationships. We learn who we are based on how we're reflected back to us. Public judgment hijacks that process. Suddenly, you're not responding to people who know you. You're responding to the interpretations of you. And the danger isn't that people judge you. The danger is when you start editing yourself to survive their judgment. Um, there was a lot of different opinions about what happened and who was at fault and everything. And then when you say survived, I literally had to, you know, um, come up with all kinds of different narratives to just protect myself, especially in a business format. Like if I were going to apply for a job or something, somebody go, "Oh, I saw you in Judge Judy and stuff," and then it looked bad on my credibility a lot of times. I was basically a hairstylist, so I didn't really have a lot of scrutinization, but I think it did have a lot to do with my clients, and how I was able to develop a clientele and stuff, because people just basically they saw me as being this particular way, and they didn't really get time to know me. Everybody was always drawing opinions about who I was and what I was. And this is where identity fractures. There becomes a public version of you and a private version trying to stay intact. Examples are I was over explaining myself, self monitoring, and replaying moments and losing spontaneity. I, I, I didn't even know that notice that this was happening to me. It just was like a natural thing that happens to I meant to say spontaneity, like spontaneously. How you say spontaneously? I always got that word mixed up. They tongue twisters. But the thing is that through when somebody asks you the question, the first thing you do is you kind of think of how you're gonna what word are you gonna do or say to a person because you go into this protective mode, and I kind of will go into a protective mode every time somebody would ask me, "Oh, I see you in Judge Judy." I'm kind of wondering, okay, here we go again. What's the question that's gonna come next after that question? I saw you. And then, of course, I had to agree that, yeah, I am the person that you saw on Judge Judy. So that in itself, it was kind of like it was crazy. It really was. And the thing is that I've been televised. I've been on other different television shows, but this was not a show that I was getting paid to go on. Well, I guess you could say I was getting paid. I was being paid. Well, I wasn't being paid, but whoever won the case was getting the money that they was trying to get from the other person. And if this was like he filed something against me, and right after that, I would file something against him. Um, I I'm not trying to say that what was right or wrong at this particular point. I just want to talk about the cause and effect of when something like this happened to somebody. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that have been wrongfully accused or they're judged based on their actions. Like, say, for instance, if you was a child and you stole something, and your siblings or people that you were around, they always say, "Oh yeah, you a thief, you a thief, you a thief." And it was because that one incident that happened to you that you was just a child and you kind of didn't like you it wasn't that you didn't know any better, but you made a mistake. And I think that mistakes are made for us to learn lessons. We all go through and we experience different types of lessons in life and stuff. And if we didn't go through the mistakes, then a lot of us wouldn't be as strong as we are right now, or we wouldn't have um, the know-how to survive right now, because it's through our mistakes that you got to admit it's through our mistakes that we got a lot of survival skills. And I know for a fact that, a lot of the different things that have happened to me in life, whether they were positive or negative, they were for me to overcome and bear. They weren't for other people to overcome and bear. And, people are only privy to the information because I allowed them to know, or I made it public. And in this particular case, this was something I had no control over, what people knew and what don't. Because I always say that, a part of being a mature adult is making the decision that your life should be on a need to know basis. Unless you have somebody that's close to you that you want to discuss things with, that you have some type of feelings about, that you feel like the person you are speaking to, you got 100% trust, and you know that they're only going to tell you the right and correct answers, then you don't mind sharing with them. But there are some things that are in life, especially, a lot of people, like, they go to church and they get to church and they tell a pastor about all the different things that are going on in their life and stuff. And I remember when, I thought my calling was to be in the ministry, and people would come down and they would tell me all their problems and stuff. And then, partially being honest with you, I would kind of look at them in a different way because I could not, I already knew. And that's between them and God. And then sometimes it weighed heavy on my spirit because I knew certain things that nobody else was privy to. And to say that is though, I prayed to God and I was like, how do I fix this situation? Because I'm in a leadership position, but I have to. And he said, when people come to you, the first thing you need to do is, shh, we're going to agree together that your situation is being taken care of and it's being handled. But I don't need to know, because I don't need to have that power over somebody by knowing whatever their circumstances, situation is, unless it's a die-hard situation and stuff. But, a lot of different things we share, and, we don't need to share with people. Some things we need to just trust that you, in prayer, God is going to work them out for you. Because when you tell people things about you, they dangle it in front of your face. And in my situation, this was a public situation. So I had no other choice but to accept the fact that people knew what was going on with me. And so, private judgment, it hurts feelings. Public judgment reshapes identity. Come on, you guys know what that means. You know what I mean? It's like, man, whew, public judgment, it it hurts. It's a scrutinization that you don't know who know and who don't know. But then, because everybody should know, because you were on his public platform. So, if I could have can you imagine during the months when it first aired, and when I saw the parts that they aired, I was like, I could have like climbed under a shell. I mean, I was like, what the world? And then I looked crazy. It was hilarious. It was funny. I know the ratings went high. I mean, anytime I came across that thing again and it was still up on, they actually put that on YouTube, on Judge Judy's show again. I thought this was years ago. I thought this was something that was in archive. But when I came across it again, I was like, oh my God, I better start talking about this before people find it. Because you know what people do? When they see that you climbing, they dig up all the different seeds and everything, and that's when they come full blast on you and stuff. So I'm one of them ones. I'm gonna confront it, why it's real. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm doing right now. So you just slowly become less you. You know what I'm saying? And why people stay stuck in the moments? Here's why people can't let go of moments where they were judged publicly, because that moment interrupts their self-concept. The key truth is that when your identity is interrupted, your nervous system keeps you trying to finish the sentence. You don't you kind of like, ooh, and especially in my situation. Come on now, um, you know, everything that the guy was trying to make me out to be somebody that I wasn't. You know, I I was a well dressed young man. I had my own business. Of course, I wasn't driving a car from Mexico. And the way the incident happened, it was spontaneous. It was like one of them days where it was a everything just happened. You know, one of those days when you wake up and everything could go wrong, went wrong. It was my birthday. I was anxious because I was turning another year. And I went and I purchased me a car. Okay. And when I purchased the car around my birthday, realizing that my identification was about, or my driver's license were getting ready to expire, like 1 or 2 days. First, I couldn't have took the brand new car off a lot had I not had my driver's license. And my driver's license wasn't intact, is what I'm trying to say. So days, or maybe a day or two after removing the car from the lot, I not only needed to get my driver's license, but I also need to get insurance. And you cannot get insurance if your driver's license is expired. So I don't know if you guys know about the DMV in Los Angeles. And back then, the DMV, when you would go to the DMV, it was like going to the post office or going somewhere. You couldn't go on your lunch break because it was very unpredictable. And so I was like kind of putting it off. I knew I had to do it because I had to get my insurance on my car. I had to prove to the dealer that I had got my insurance. So I was within like a small time frame. And what I ended up doing was, okay, on my way to get my driver's license fixed to pay for it, because I didn't have to take the test again. I just had to go and pay for it, stand in the long line. I had clients waiting for me at my salon, and I was moving too fast and I needed to slow down. Okay. And I was in, you got 2 lanes. This is the turning lane, and this is the lane I was in. I was ahead of this gentleman that was in the turning lane. I was ahead of him. And when I signaled to come over to the lane, he speeded up because of his aggression. And his car hit my side door because he speeded up. He wasn't there when I looked over my shoulders to make that right turn. So when I went to move over there, he speeded up because he didn't want me to go in front of him. Because in LA, he wanted to be first. And that's what that was about. He hit my door. So when he pulled over and I pulled over, I admitted that I was wrong. Or I said that I was wrong because I did not want the police to come. It's an expired driver's license, no insurance, brand new car. What I was getting ready to go through was my car being impounded. I probably would have got arrested, because I was not the right blue-eyed blonde that he was. So there was a lot of different scenarios and statistics that was surrounding that situation. And so coming clean, I just want y'all to know that I'm a good standing citizen. I pay my taxes. I do what it is that I have to do. And, this is why people keep defending, people keep clarifying, people keep revisiting the past. You know what I'm saying? It's because people are always trying to make something out of nothing. So I'm always feel like I'm always defending myself when it comes to this particular narrative. And I don't think anybody that was put in my position probably would have did anything different. You know, it was not being who I was and not being at the time It was because I was in California, and if you guys know anything about California, California back in the day, you think it's segregated now. It was really segregated back then. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Because this is not a bashing of race or anything on this showcase, but this is a conversation that needs to be had because it's facts. You know, what bothers me is when people try to say you need to get over that, or people need to get over that, or get over that. No, we need to learn from it, move on, but we still need to learn because these are situations that are serious, and they have caused cause and effect on our lives and how we think and how we feel and how we move. You know, a lot of us are the type of brothers and sisters whereas though we are not comfortable in our own skin. And so we get around certain people and we try to portray or act like them and how we speak, I know that way, but the reality is we need to, I mean, come on now. We know it's a difference between Ebonic and correct English. I'm not saying about that. I'm just saying when we get around each other and we'll see each other because we were for a certain group of people and we don't even speak. So a lot of that was going on in California. Listen, in my family, multi-denominational, we are like a melting pot when it comes, and we love everybody. So I'm not saying that I don't love everybody. I love everybody. But this was a major factor when we think about this particular situation. Listen, public judgment, it does define our identity, but unprocessed judgment does. So think about that. The goal isn't to erase what happened. The goal is to stop letting the narrative who you are becoming. Um, you know, if you ever felt frozen in a version of yourself you've already outgrown, you're not broken, you're just unfinished. Next episode, I'll be talking about how to reclaim the narrative without fighting, proving, or performing, because that's important. It's like to reclaim the narrative of what literally happened to me. You know, I'm like, I don't really care, about the fact that it happened because it happened. It was an experience. I have so many different experiences that I could talk to, but a lot of them ain't public. So, I ain't got to go into detail because I don't have to feel justified to explain myself. But what I will say is that, on the next show, I'm going to uh, definitely, I'm going to be talking about how to reclaim your narrative because you don't have to answer to the name that people always call you. You know, if you made a mistake in your life, you know, you need to accept it to and then move on. And then what was it that you were supposed to learn from? Because I believe out of everything that's negative, there's something positive to receive. Now, as far as people that are out there and they're saying whatever they say, or they have some opinion about you, you this, you that, and you this, and you that. Whenever you got, um, one finger pointing at somebody, you got what? Three pointing back at you. So you kind of got to be happy how you misjudge people, how you say things about people. And it's called bullying. It's called bullying. And some people, you know, um, they always got something negative to say. And I'm just telling you, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to feel like you're not important. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to tell yourself, I am important. You see what I'm saying? I forgive myself. And as long as you forgive yourself, you on a way to growing past that situation and you want to set a positive. And trust me, a lot of people who have gone through things, do you know they have taken that very situation they've gone through and they've turned their lives around? I mean, You ever see that show that comes on TV about all those different women and stuff? How they have I can get some. This is ginger ale today. All those different women, they were dealing with drugs and doing all kinds of things, running prostitution rings and doing all kinds of stuff, and went to jail and served time. I ain't go to jail several time, but what I'm just saying is that those same women have gone out and started institutions and started doing things to help people that in similar situations to help them to outgrow whatever those difficult moments or times and situations are. And so you can use your negative circumstances that happen to you in life and you can turn yourself around. You know what I'm saying? You have to use them as you're growing too. Sometimes I often ask myself, and now that I'm older, I swear to you, when things happen that I'm not 100% comfortable with, I ask myself, I go, self, what is it you're supposed to learn from this situation? I do. I ask myself, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from the situation? Um, Listen, misinterpretation loop. Okay, suddenly you're not responding to people who know you. You're responding to the interpretations of you. That's real talk. The inner echo. It's about what happens inside when the world think they knows who you are. Don't nobody know who you are. You know what I'm saying? And reclaiming your narrative. That's what we're gonna talk about next week. Um, guys, I want to. We getting close to like a closure where I bring this to a close. But I hope this particular segment was as important to you as it was for me. I got something I wanted to show you guys. I want to talk to you about. Oh, I know what it is. I wanted to talk to you about the AI Summit. Join it for free, guys. Come on, we got a few more days left to join it. And I want you guys to get this free information. It's free education that, listen, trust me, if you get an opportunity to do this free AI Summit for 2026, is when I say it's going to help you, it's going to help you. I'm on every social media page. Click on the link. And when you click on my link, it's a link tree. You click on it, you click on the top one that says free. Fill that information out, and then it's all done online. She's going to be one-on-one online, so it won't be like you got to go nowhere, you got to be nowhere. You can be at work, put your earphones in. But if you can read, that's all you need to be able to do. You need to be able to read and also have a device that you can be able to put or take notes, or be able to download ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, or any one of those AI applications that you feel. I'm going to actually go and have another show eventually on AI, because I want you guys to understand and realize that how AI is important for us just to know. I just want us to do that. Okay, wrapping it up, you guys. I need you guys to subscribe and like. Okay, that's my YouTube channel. Okay, Spotify. I'm on Spotify. This show, it goes right up on Spotify, kind of like 30 minutes after this show is aired. It goes up on Spotify. Another thing is that there's my business email and also Chatterbox telephone number. And you guys can go ahead and call me if you want to, be a part of any show title that you might want to see. And look, I'm on every social media that you Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I'm on all those pages and stuff. And I'm out there just for you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm putting content out 24/7, hoping that you guys find it interesting or impressed. I don't really get a lot of likes on my stuff, but that doesn't stop me from doing it, because I'm purpose driven. And when you purpose driven, no matter what, you just do what you do. I don't need a lot of pat on the backs and everything. But if you do like my stuff, subscribe, okay, or like, or just tell somebody that you feel like this subject matter might help. I want to say you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you all next week when again We talk about this particular series of Public Judgment after Judge Judy, and it's going to be How to Reclaim Your Narrative. That's going to be on June the 17th, 2026. Thank you, and bye.